Good evening and welcome to the Legends of Tabletop podcast. We haven't done this in a little while. Wow, I'm gonna have to edit already, like 30 seconds in. Fucking bullshit. So anyhow, welcome to my guests here. We've got two guys hanging out right now, with a third possibly on the way. So, wow, this is terrible already. I don't do this a lot anymore. Like I just play a lot of games. Fuck me, right? All right, Kurt, go ahead. Who's here today?
Oh, who's here today? I'm here today. Hi, it's Kurt from the MFG Cast, co-founder, one of the voices, my sultry voice. Boy, now you got me going. Now I can't think of anything else to say. Yeah, exactly. An awesome board game podcast. I have some friends that come on. We talk games. Sometimes we have John on. Sometimes we have Sean on. It's a lot of fun. Now I'm going to throw it over to Sean. Sean, who the hell are you?
Who the hell am I? I don't know who the hell I am. I'm some jerk from Thing 12 Games. I don't know. I play a lot of games. I design games, publish games, and generally be a bit of a dad joke person on Twitter. So that's me.
So I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to totally take John's power away from him. So I heard that it could. At first, I heard it was Thing 12 Games, but I also heard that it was supposed to be Thing 1-2 Games. Which is it?
It's Thing 12.
Okay, good.
And that came around because there are two Seans in our company, and when we actually worked together at two different companies, and we would call each other Thing 1 and Thing 2 because we're both Sean and we both spell it the same way, so it was a little confusing. So I was Thing 2, he was Thing 1, and when we were trying to come up with company names, that crossed our minds, but Thing 1 and Thing 2 is a licensed owned property of the Dr. Seuss. So we're like, yeah, let's not do that. But what about Thing 12? And that kind of plays into the whole Seattle, the Seahawks, blue and green and all that kind of stuff.
Ooh. Yeah. Sorry, I'm a Packer fan, so I have to boo the Seahawks.
I like cheese. Does that help?
Yes, I like you again. We're back on board.
So Thing 12 just came around because of the two of us being together and being a couple of dorks that happen to like each other in some capacity.
Nice.
See, now we have the answer. I think that was Jesse's question, right? I know somebody kept asking me to ask you what it was. I'm like, fuck, I can't remember stuff.
The mystery solved.
So we wanted to put a show together just to kind of, kick out 2018, welcome in 2019. I mean, I play a lot of board games, not as many board games as Sean probably, but, just to talk about games that we had played, stuff that we're looking forward to, things that are going on in our respective creative endeavors, and kind of looking forward to 2019 now. And Sean, you're like, super, like, is there like a super duper backer for Kickstarter? Like, what's the, I mean, you've got stuff like all the time. It's crazy, your Twitter feed.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like, just about once a week, I've got some game coming in. Like, so much to the point that I don't even like follow all the messages that the creators send out. Like, whatever. It's too much. It's just noise at this point. Like, let me know when the damn thing's showing up, and then I'll look for a tracking code or some package mysteriously appears on my door. Hey, all right.
Do you forget that stuff is coming? Like, do you ever get a game and be like, did I back that? I remember that game. Did I back that game?
I have gotten packages where I'm like, oh yeah, I backed this. That's cool. Awesome. Yay. Surprise for me.
I'm going to create a game that I'm going to get you hooked on Kickstarter. I'm going to have you fund it. And then I'm going to say shipping to be charged later. So then when you don't read that response on your email, I'll just charge you $100 for shipping. So I can get a couple of games.
Foolproof plan. You've got me hooked already.
Yes. Trademarks. No one steal that from me.
Nice. Have you ever backed anything on Kickstarter, Kurt? Are you a Kickstarter guy?
You know what? I used to never really be a Kickstarter guy, really, just because there's too many variables out there that like scared me away from backing stuff, especially from first-time creators and stuff like that. But I've become better at it just because I've been able to become friends and talk to some great people like Sean and stuff like that. So, and I've been able to, get on Kickstarter and, fund some great stuff. So, we've done it a little bit more lately. And it's one of those things, just like with, like, even though I don't back a lot of stuff, I kind of get the same thing with Sean. I'm like, oh yeah, I backed that game. Well, whenever it comes, that kind of thing. And it's like, how a lot of people go, okay, well, I've been waiting 6 months and 7 days, or I've been waiting 3.5 years or whatever. Me, I'm just like, okay, well, I remember that somebody sent a message saying that, they made some pasta tonight and the game's on its way. Okay, well, then I'll wait for it to come out, I'll wait to get it when I get it, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I feel like it's a little bit different for folks like us that, podcast and are involved in the community. Be like, that game is a year and a half. Like I just got, I'm not throwing Tasty Minstrel under the bus, but I just got my copy of Crusaders a couple of weeks ago, and it was supposed to ship, I think, in May last year. Well, I got it in December, but it's Tasty Minstrel. Like, it's not like you're not going to get your game. Okay, it's not when they promised it, but the quality's great. The gameplay is awesome. And, like they get a pass for it. And maybe that's fair and maybe it's not. The same thing with Oscar. Cthulhu Invictus went probably about the same, maybe about a year and a half. So it was overdue. But it's like, I know Oscar. Like, again, it's not like my money's being stolen or I'm not going to get a product. It's just later than, what we would have expected. And it's awesome. And I have it. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's a fine line. Like, if you're just random Joe Schmo and you're like, oh, this looks like a cool game. Oh, I'm going to get it in May. And then May comes and goes and June comes and goes. And you're like, what the fuck? I gave you all this money. Where's my stuff?
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough. Well, especially like, I feel like it depends upon your personality too. Like, as a kid of the 80s and stuff like that, on getting stuff online and tracking that kind of stuff wasn't a thing. You just, either your aunt bought it for you or you happened upon it on a store and you grabbed it and you played it and you had fun. And some of this stuff is, it's a learning process too, because, you have to do, luckily for the internet, you can do a lot more research. So you can kind of be like, okay, I can kind of stay away from this, or this is actually really fun. So, I would love to see what this is about.
Well, there's also a bit of there's an onus on the Kickstarter creator, right? To be talking to people and say, hey, we're running late because XYZ. We've had some of our projects kind of go longer than we really anticipated. And Seals of Cthulhu right now is over where we are hoping it to be, but we're also communicating that to backers, like, here's what we're working on, here's where we are, so it doesn't feel like we vanished. And you're like, where the hell did you just skip out to Mexico and take off with our money? What the hell? Like, we're letting people know and we're keeping them communicated.
Yeah, that's true. And both Tasty Minstrel and Oscar over Golden Goblin, I mean, the same thing. I mean, Oscar, like, to the extreme. I think we were getting messages like once a week, maybe every other week, where, over at Tasty Minstrel, it was, maybe once a month. Hey, this is where things are at. And a lot of times stuff like that's out of your guys' control. You order, game components from China and, like, New Year, like, they shut down. Like, if your Kickstarter runs through the new year, like, that's a month. Write that off because they don't work. Like, that's it, and you have no control over that.
Yeah, the shipping thing can be an issue. I mean, you can have all kinds. You plan those as best you can. We plan out with a lot of padding into our schedules, and it's still like things go screwy because maybe your artist that suddenly gets sick for a couple of weeks, right? Well, crap. Now that thing has to wait until he gets better so he can actually work on the thing. So there's all kinds of things that can derail it. And again, it's just communication. Let people know. And generally, people are pretty understanding. They're like, okay, we see progress. You're talking to us. We get it.
Yeah. And I think that's key. I mean, as with anything in life, right? Like, communication is just, such a key thing to have, your spouse, with your work, with your whatever. Like, that's just, and when people are doing that, you should be flexible. Like, okay, cool, it was supposed to come X, but like you said, you're telling me all right, I'm good. Keep me in the loop.
Yeah.
With as many Kickstarters as you back, have you gotten burned on any or many?
Yes, I'm sad to say I have, and two that are kind of big ones too, and it really stings. One of the earlier ones that I backed, I want to say it's like the 4th or 5th game that I backed. I went all in on that one, and like really cool minis and really cool theme. This post-apocalyptic, fighting against all these demons and monsters, and just really cool art style. It hit all the things that you're kind of looking for. Like they had all their maps done, and they showed all this stuff, and it looked like it was all good to go. And after it funded, and it funded for a lot, like a couple mil, he just progressively stopped communicating and then just vanished. So that's one I'm never getting, and that was like, good God, 5 years ago, more than that, 6 years ago.
That sucks.
That one really sucked a lot. There was another one that was fairly recent by Space Goat. They did, let's see, they did Evil Dead 2, or Evil Dead 2, and then they also did Terminator board games, and they were up here in Bellingham, so we actually interviewed them for our podcast, and we got a chance to play the game. We talked to the designers, like, oh, okay, yeah, we're totally on board for this, and the game looked awesome. Like, I'll support the Terminator one. The guy was honestly a giant douche, and he drove away all the people that were working for him, and they didn't have anyone to finish things up, and basically just went silent. And so everybody's like all pissed off, and they started this whole Facebook page, like, hold them accountable, and like, that's never going to happen. Positive note on that, someone actually came along, and they're working with Jasco to actually take over the Evil Dead game, and they're like, we're going to re-kickstart this, and the new backers are going to get the game, and the people that backed it before are going to get the game as well. And if that works out, they're going to try and do the Terminator game as well. So that might have a happy ending.
That's good. I hear, every once in a while something will get picked up, when someone disappears, and they'll try to, at least hit the backers, even if there's no like, oh, we've got this for sale. Like, at least let's get you your thing,
Yeah.
Which is good. I looked at that Evil Dead game too, because I love Evil Dead, and I was like, I don't know. Like, games based on movies and TV shows generally are not fantastic, and I'm like, I'm just not gonna. And I don't think it was cheap either. I think it was an expensive game, right? Like $60-80 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a full minis game, like player boards and tokens and all that kind of crap. And yeah, that's just, I mean, and to no fault of any backers, like I said, like we met with the people, we freaking played the game. Like, how much more trust can you give with someone? And we're like, oh, I guess the guy is a dick, and he's gonna screw everybody over. Yay!
Yeah. And that's part of the researching that sucks if you don't know the personality of somebody like that, and you're like, oh, I'm giving all this money to somebody that I wouldn't normally do that to because they're not a great human being, that sucks. So
I only got burned on one, and it was one I jumped in like right at the last minute. It was for a reprint of an RPG, and I was like, I listened to the live play, and I'm like, this might be really cool with the right group of people. We'll get something. It was like $15. Like, I just backed for the PDF. Everything was going through, funded, got a message like the August, like I think it wrapped in like June or July, got a message in August, guy disappeared. And I sent him it because I know sometimes stuff comes late. Like, we do a lot of interviews and stuff. Like, I get it. Like, I'm in the loop, So I'm like, hey, just reaching out, editing sucks, whatever, print pro. Hey, just looking for a heads up. Nothing. Never got anything.
Wow.
People were posting like his Facebook profile and the, in the message chats and all that stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to stalk the guy. Like, it's $15, right? It's not going to make me or break me, but it was a known designer. It was a known system. Like, it wasn't a huge system, but it wasn't like Joe Blow. Like, it was this guy. I'm like, wow, I guess you're an asshole. Like, and stuff happens, right? And people get sick. I know he had a kid because they were posting pictures on the thing, but like, it takes 2 seconds to write a thing and be like, oh, this was more than I expected, or whatever, something.
Yeah. Yeah,
it sucks.
Yeah, you got to own up on that kind of stuff, especially if it's something that, I don't know. I don't know how anybody could do that. I mean, unless it's something that's so detrimental that they can't speak on it, I don't understand it,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, and that's, I mean, considering the number of games that I've backed, like I've backed literally hundreds of games, the number of ones that have like gone south in some bad way, like 0.5%, right? So I think the ones that really like that fail to deliver really kind of cause people to think, oh, there's a lot of people doing this. Like, no, it's not the routine thing, right? So I'd hate for someone to get that kind of wrong idea about Kickstarter. Just do your homework and look and see what past things they've done. Have they failed to fulfill on any past projects? Well, maybe you shouldn't back this one if they can't do the stuff that they are still working on. So,
yeah. Well, kind of, keeping on this Kickstarter theme for now, have we reached like peak Kickstarter? I mean, do we still see, growth going forward and, in the gaming section specifically? I mean, Kickstarter, whatever, but, for board games and card games and all that kind of stuff.
What was there? It was, I was talking to Sean earlier today. I want to say last year was 147 million made on Kickstarter just in the tabletop section.
Wow.
That is a crap ton of money. So
is.
I would say we haven't hit it because as big as we see the tabletop industry going, it's still pennies compared to like the video game industry. And
Sure.
even like our awareness is growing, but it's still like small potatoes compared to like the vast number of people that don't even know about tabletop games. Like, oh yeah, I've heard about people playing stuff. I guess they're playing Monopoly at these conventions. Like, there's still a lot of people that have no idea. So I don't think it is, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. Like, I think this is going to be an interesting year as we start to see more companies. Like Stronghold's going to put something on Kickstarter. Like, that's them.
Wait, what? Yeah, no kidding. Like Bonacor was our first interview, and I remember he said he was never going to do that. That's crazy.
Right? Yeah, like, and it's part of that whole partnership that he did with Indie Boards and Cards, because they've been really big on doing things through Kickstarter. So I think they're going to try their hat at it and see how it goes.
I suppose when you have people in your brand, whatever you want to call it there, within that company that know what they're doing, of course, he's probably a little safer to be like, okay, I trust these guys. Now we partnered up, so now they can do that stuff because they have more of a background in it, where he probably didn't have anybody that was like big into the background of it. So
yeah, it's less risk for him at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and even like, with these bigger companies, like you say, like, Stronghold Games, it's typically like a one-person operation. Like, there's not 100 people that are like doing stuff. It's one guy or, a couple of people, like, putting all this stuff together. So if you don't have, an expertise in that, or, just the time to be able to put into all that, like it's just not an option.
Well, especially for him, like, he wants to, like, he's got so much tied up in doing the whole normal publishing that probably just like it doesn't make sense for him to try and invest in that aspect of it. So like, hey, we've partnered with someone that's already got it, then sure, let's try it, because this could be viable for us. And I think it's cool. Steven's an awesome guy. Like, I've met him a couple of times, and a better steward of the tabletop industry I couldn't imagine. He's a great guy. So I think, that's a great one to kind of maybe bring more people into the whole Kickstarter realm again.
Right. No, definitely. We had Steven on, man, fucking a while back now. I can't even remember. He was one of the early ones. But so I think, like, obviously for like Cool Mini, like, it's pre-order, right? I mean, and then people are unhappy with that. Even it's like, oh, you get this exclusive thing at this level, like with the last Kickstarter. Okay, cool. Now we sold that out, so we're going to add another one, and you get this cool thing, but you're the only one that's going to get it. And now you get this cool thing, and it's like, it's either exclusive or it's not, right? Like, you got to like do your thing. You're going to make your money. It's fine. But for guys like you and, Hidden Creek with Dragon Dodge and like, all these people that we've had on, like, this is the way to get a game to market, because it's like, hey, I don't have 30 grand to make molds and, you know, pay for shipping, do all the stuff. Like, we have to go to Kickstarter, or else this really cool thing that we have, that we put together, that we created, that people enjoy, we can't get it to you unless we have this format.
Yeah, it was interesting to see Cool Mini or not actually pull back a little bit and go like, we're going to do some stuff like traditional publishing, but we're also going to keep things that are more Kickstarter focused. And I think that's pretty smart for them. I'm a big fan of the others. You know, their one versus many horror game, but that bombed commercially so hard. Like, it went 50% off super fast.
Yeah.
And I think part of that's price. You know, it's like, it's $100 game, and you drop that at a local game store, and there's not that many people that are going to go, sure, I'll throw $100 on this game. What? Yeah. And I only get some of the creatures. Like, I don't get this. But for the backers, like, we saw the whole thing, right? Yeah, I'm all in. Give me all the stuff at one time.
Yeah,
and I can buy it all. So it's smarter to do that for them. So yeah, I think that's a wise choice on their part.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's rare that I spend that much on a game. Like, I look at some of the stuff, I'm like, that's really cool. You know, and then either, you know, time wise, you know, Twilight Imperium, like, I'm not going to play a game for 6 hours or 8 hours or 14 hours. Like, I would rather role play. I've said this on the show before. Like, if we're going to do that, let's role play. Like, I enjoy playing board games, but I don't want to do it for, let's play 12 different games over, you know, 6 hours or 8 hours, as opposed to this one thing. Like, it's just, you know, so like, I think that affects, you know, people, because I and maybe not like hardcore board gamers. I don't know. What do I know? But like, for us, I play a lot of games at work. So like, our time frame is about an hour. You know, my brother comes over, he plays games with us, you know, comes over for dinner after work. We play games. Maybe we have 2 hours. So, you know, like, there's games that are just not on the table for me, either for player count or time, because we're just not going to get to it. And price is another thing. Like, $100 for a game. Oh, I don't know. You know, like, it's a lot of money. We have Jesse joined us. What's going on? You're well past time. Like, there's Jesse time, and now we're like double that. What's going on? You're muted to mute. You're not even ready. Come on.
Nope, still can't hear you. You've got a great headset, and yet we can't hear anything from you.
I'm not even going to edit this out.
Anything?
There it is.
I must.
How much did you pay for that headset that we can't hear you on?
I must have sat on the mute button.
Freaking guy. So what's up?
Nothing. I have my My Little Pony character sheet all written up. That's what we're doing tonight, right?
Nice.
Well, we got to get other John Beta on,
right?
So he can get his My Little Pony dice going.
Exactly. I figured he was DMing this.
Awesome. Well, we've been ruminating on Kickstarter, backing projects and all that kind of stuff. Are you a Kickstarter guy yourself? I know you don't play as many board games as the rest of us, but are you?
I usually tend to pick up Kickstarter stuff after it's already been kickstarted and released.
Okay. So you're putting money in guys like Sean's pocket because you're paying full price.
Exactly. Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, awesome. I have a question. So, you know, with Jesse and with John, you guys if you're going to play something longer, you're going to play an RPG. So, like, you know, you've got these RPG books, and those can be pretty absorbent too.
Oh yeah,
$60. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, what's the difference between getting a book that you can put all this time into, that's about the same price, and a board game that you could do the same?
For me, it's the solo. So when you buy a book, it's a reference. It's something that I can read by myself and I can go over and do. I think it's more of a mindset issue. It's like, I could have a collection of games that could sit on my shelf and I'd feel like I'm wasting them. Whereas if I have a collection of books that I'm sitting here wasting, it doesn't feel like a waste because I can still pick it up and look through it and feel like I'm being productive with it.
So just because you can read the contents of it makes it different.
Exactly. Yeah. Even though I could like go through a game. Like I think that's why something like Gloomhaven, like you spend a ton of money on it and it's kind of meant to be played with multiple people, but you can play it by yourself. So at least you feel like when you're not able to play it, you're not wasting it.
Yeah. Yeah. We just played a game last night actually, and it's the Arkham Horror card game. And that kind of feels, kind of RPG-ish in a board game and stuff like that, where it's got its own story and stuff like that. And we actually have the game, but my buddy got it and he brought it over and we played the first scenario. I played the first scenario again, but I hadn't played that for like a year. So of course I forgot everything about it, except for like one little thing, which was still fine. But it's kind of cool to have that. It still has that thing where you can kind of have that story to it too, where you're kind of learning something just like you would play an RPG on it, even though it doesn't have your character talks to your other character about what's going on in the story. Even though I felt like sometimes we kind of did that, because it was like you pick in that game for the first scenario. It's like you pick the lead investigator, and the lead investigator, that's their house. And some spooky shit is going on in their house. And I'm like, I hate your house. I don't want to be in this house anymore. I don't care what kind of ghouls or whatever. Like you need to just, call it good. We need to get the hell out of here, So it's it has that aspect too. But yeah, I just wondered on that because it just feels like, a lot of RPGs, a lot of times they know that it's going to be this one-time thing. Sometimes they have some other books that go with it, but a lot of times they know it's this one thing. So they're going to put like a pretty decent amount on it, and be like, okay, so what exactly, is this really worth this much to me? Am I going to get the $60? Am I going to get the $50 out of it?
Right.
Like I was able to get a bunch of D&D books from Dan because he was like, I already know a lot of people that have them and I don't need them, and he's like, here, I'll give it to you for this much. I'm like, sweet. Because I'm like, I'm sorry, right now I can't pay $200 for all these books because my wife would murder me, so.
I think one thing too is we put such a weird spin when we buy, like, I was talking about, wasting the money and wasting the time on it, but we put such a weird spin on where if we feel like if we spend $60 on a board game, and if we're not playing that thing every single month, at least once for, a handful of months, we feel like, well, it's wasted money. Yet most people are totally fine blowing $60 on a video game that they'll play for 5 or 6 hours and it's over, but they feel like they got their money's worth on that. Whereas if you play a board game, say it lasts an hour and a half, 2 hours, but you've only played it twice, you've still kind of recouped your money if you, comparatively speaking. And when you compare it to like a Blu-ray or going to the movies or buying a video game. But I think it's still, that kind of mindset of, well, I've only done it a couple of times.
Yeah. Yeah. I always think that stuff's kind of funny because like I work in retail and I always love when people come in and they look at like a football jersey and they're like, this is $100. That's a lot of money. Yeah, but you're wearing jeans that are bedazzled that are like $200. I don't want to hear it. I'm sorry.
Well, I'll throw in. We got some people hanging out in the chat. Leah said the books are imagination fodder. Kind of like Justice said, you go through, read through them, and if I could get this campaign together, or whatever, like, oh, I could put in this monster, I can use this thing or whatever. And N20 Games hanging out and says RPGs are like a set of encyclopedias. So again, just being able to pull it off the shelf, thumb through it, look at the art, all that kind of stuff. For me, I think that, that bigger box game, a game that's going to cost you $100 is like, for me, it's a game that's going to take X number of hours. It's not going to be that, half an hour Splendor experience or 15 minutes, play like fucking rapid fire. But it's going to be a game that's going to take you a while to play. So depending on, your gaming situation. Like all of our role playing is all online. Like everything is online.
Mhm.
And you can't really do that with, you can Tabletop Simulator and some of these other things, but it's a social thing. You want to sit at the table and play a board game and feel the components. Like I got the deluxeified version of Crusaders, and it's amazing. Like the metal coins and the plastic
That looks
3D buildings,
beautiful.
the chunky wooden buildings and all that stuff. Like that doesn't translate if you're doing that online. So like, yeah, I mean, it's a time issue. I guess it's kind of like what everybody else was saying is, I can pick up a book and read through it. I can make a character. And I think a little bit of the difference too is like, I'm only probably going to buy an RPG book that I'm probably going to play. I'm not just going to drop $60 on a book and stick it on the shelf if I'm never going to play it. I mean, what's the point?
Yeah.
If I drop $60 on a game, I'm gonna play it. Like, cause I do I'm watching playthrough videos, I'm watching reviews, I'm doing research online. Like, I don't ever walk in the store and be like, oh, this looks interesting. Like, I go in with a list. You have this? Is it open? Can I play it? Can you tell me about it? Like, I already know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
One of the guys in our play group, he would walk into the board game store and be like, yeah, that's new. That looks cool. I'll get that one. And like, he'll just do that, just randomly grab stuff.
I've done that only a few times in my life, and the times that I have, I've been burnt. I'm like, oh, this looks good, and you open it up, and you might as well have just taken a dump in a box, because I'm like, oh, why did I do this?
Why did I buy dump in the box? What was I expecting?
Yeah, exactly. I should have asked, what's in the box?
What's in the box? No, I think that's my big problem. My apprehension with Kickstarter is that I feel, and while I do put a lot of onus on like great creators and great publishers and everything, I know chances are if they've created like even 2 or 3 really good games before, chances are their games from now on are mostly going to be really good. But I have a really big apprehension about going on and just buying something that I've never played before. And that really hasn't, I know creators like play test the bejesus out of the games before even throwing them on Kickstarter, but just without hearing a lot of people who have already played it and all that kind of stuff, I have a problem dropping like 50 or 60 or $70 on something that I don't know if I'm going to like or not, or even how many times I'm going to feel like playing it until I'm like, oh, all right, I think I've done this.
Well, so I mean, so that leads me to my next question then. Like, how do you feel about this cult of the new? Like, I know Kurt, you guys were playing Keyforge last night as well, and you see it come out. And I see again. I've talked about this on the show. See stuff come across Twitter, and everybody's, oh, you got to try this and that. Look at these pictures, and this is beautiful, and you got to try this game. And it's like, boom, it came out. Everybody's got to have it. I don't know. That doesn't really work for me. Like for me, that's a no go. Like I said, I'm gonna do my research. I'm gonna look in. Is there? And there's definitely that cult of the new thing that happens. Like, I mean, is that just, because as gamers, we're collectors, whether it's the board games or the books or the video games or whatever, like we just want to have all the things.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a part of that. There's definitely a FOMO, like the fear of missing out, that people talk about. Like it's the new thing, and so you want to be on the bleeding edge with everybody else. Like you don't want to be the person left out. They can't really like talk about the cool stuff that's out there. I think that's with just about anything. Like new comics come out and everybody's like talking about this new book or the new movie or have you seen the new series? Like people want to be part of that community that's really excited about a thing. So I think you get that across the whole spectrum, right?
I mean, I feel like that's a social thing though, right? Like that's just, it's the same thing with Facebook and and even with Twitter, like all this social media stuff. Like, oh, I just went to here, I just went there, we got a new puppy, I bought a new car, I did whatever. Like, does that just play into our social inadequacies of like, I've got to get that too because everybody's talking about it?
I'd say that probably plays into it a bit from a psychological standpoint. I think for some people, it's just, wanting to have that, want to have something new all the time. Like some people just get bored, like doing, even if it's a good game, like if they play a game more than like 5 times, they're like, I'm bored with that, whatever. Like they constantly have to have new information coming in or new experiences all the time to be able to like get enjoyment out of things. And if that's your thing, that's fine. Do that. Some people would rather play a game, like 100 times over and discover the depth that's in there. I'm somewhere in the middle. I'd love to be able to do that, but if I was going through looking at my plays for 2018 and like 90% of them were all like one play, all right.
Hey, at least you got to that point, right? There's a lot of people that haven't even gotten to that point. It's like, oh, that's been in the plastic wrap for 3 years, boy. Sure, like to get that one out eventually.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the pile of shame.
Yeah, exactly. That's like one of our resolutions for this year is that we're gonna play every single game that we have not played, and we've actually done pretty good with ours. But now, because of Christmas and like our families being really good, they're like, here's some games, and we're like, holy shit, okay, we've got some work to do, that kind of thing. But like as far as like the Cult of the New thing goes, like I've gotten a lot better with that. I remember when we first started the podcast and getting into gaming, it kind of like all kind of came together right at the same time. So we're all like, little kids that are like, okay, we need this, we need that, we need this, that. And it's like, okay, number one, you don't have enough money for that. And number two, you don't have enough time for that, regardless of how old you are at the time. We weren't super old, but we were kind of getting into our families and stuff like that too. So, we weren't able to just grab everything. And excuse me. And I've, been pretty good about seeing some things and knowing right away, like, I know that this is number whatever on BGG. I know this is the next best thing in role playing, but I will never like this. And I will never want to play it. I mean, it sucks to say because a lot of times that, especially being a part of a podcast, you want to be like, I like all the things because I want to be supportive of the community, but also I don't want to lie to anybody and be like, this is great. Barf. You don't want to do that. You want to, I'm the kind of person that likes to be honest with everybody. It's like, I'm not going to spoon feed you what you want to hear because that's not fair to you.
Yeah, right. As a publisher, I would rather have people be honest about, a game that I'm making. Like if there's a podcast review, or a game reviewer and they're more into Euro games and they play one of mine, and they're like, oh, this isn't a game that I like. Here's why, blah, 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 blah. Good. I don't want people that are more in that line picking it up and then not being excited to play it and then hating it. Like if my game isn't your bag, please don't buy it. I want you to go play something that you like. That's cool.
You'd rather, I think you hit it on the point where if you put it like food, if somebody doesn't like steak and then they go to a steak restaurant and be like, well, the food's garbage here. It's like, well, if you only like a certain type of game and then you play a game that's outside of that genre and you don't like it, don't knock the game, knock your taste.
Or just, hey, this isn't my kind of game. This is the experience that I've had. You may like it, but it's like it's not in our play group.
Just admit that. Yeah, admit that. Don't call the game out for something that's not the game's fault.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. We try to do that when we do reviews too. It's like I don't like to go like this is crap. I just like to say it's not our cup of tea. Like that's one of our kind of our ratings at the bottom is it's just not our thing. It doesn't mean it's not your thing. I mean, you could love it. I could be completely wrong in your eyes. I'm not going to tell you what's what.
Well, the funny thing is even the worst game you could find on, Board Game Geek, you're going to find someone that likes that game that sings to them. It speaks to them on some level. Right? There's an audience for just about anything. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of games that aren't really my cup of tea, and that's cool. And whatever you like, it's fine.
Yeah. So, well, to piggyback on that, then, do you guys have a particular style that you completely enjoy, play 100% of the time? And then conversely, do you have a style or kind of game that you don't like to play?
For me, co-ops are not really my bag. I'd rather be at people's throats and, attacking each other and screwing each other over. Competitive games are fine because then you're working together until you turn on each other in glorious fashion. So that's kind of my thing.
Kurt?
For me, like my favorite game, it feels like more as I play is like Euro style game, which is weird because when I first started playing games, I'd never thought that I would be that guy, really. Like, I don't like to play like super heavy Euro games, but I have, and I've enjoyed them. But I don't think there's anything out there that I don't like, really. The only thing I don't play enough of probably is party games, just because I don't have that many friends, unfortunately. So it's hard to do that. And then if I try to play like a party game with my family, a lot of times they don't want to. So that part is tough. I was lucky enough. I have it right here just because I got 2 copies of it. So eventually I'm gonna have to give one away, but I'd be glad to do it. We played News at 11 by Floodgate Games, where basically you're just making up your own news stories on the fly, and you do like a morning, evening, and night stuff. And I did that with my family, and I loved it. And we played this at Gen Con like 2015. We just kind of happened upon like find a spot, and the guy that showed us it was a super cool guy and super nice. And somebody wrote something super inappropriate on a card, and we're like, that is amazing. And, like, it just turned out so well, And when I first introduced it to my family, I thought for sure, like, this is like my dad and my sister and my brother, guys that don't really like to play anything super past like cards and sorry and stuff like that. Like, I didn't think it would go well, and it was a blast. Nice. So it's sometimes, again, it goes to show you with that other thing too. It's like, don't give up on something just because one thing didn't work out, So
Jesse, what about you?
I can't, because I don't have a lot of time to play, or coordinating schedules and getting people together. I play so infrequently, I can't get into anything super crunchy. If I'm looking at like a review of a game or anything, and there are just too many piles of cards, or if the board if there's just too much going on, I'm like, I can't take the time to learn all this and get enjoyment out of playing the game. I think the heaviest I can go is something like Pandemic or like Catan or something where it looks complicated on the surface, but when you get into it, there's really not a ton going on. Like games, that's kind of my default right there. Mm-hmm. Like that and lower. I'll go Catan, and then like we didn't play test this, or like my recent one is Unstable Unicorns. Like that's like nice. Right in there. Anything above that, I can't do. So.
Yeah. All right, that's fair. I love an abstract game. Onitama, Santorini. I picked up Blue Lagoon last year, which had like a 5.5 rating on Board Game Geek. I fucking love it. We were playing last night. The kids were screaming. It's a friggin' nightmare. But it's so good. She's like, don't put that token. I'm doing it. Like I'm literally doing it. Don't do it. But like, that's just how we play. Like, I mean, we're ridiculous. So co-op, not really my bag. I want to out-strategize. I want to outplay. I want to, so, and random get like dice games and stuff. Like, we picked up Zombie Dice at PAX in 2012 when we went out for the first time. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. We played it quite a bit. And now I look at it and go, oh, Zombie Dice, like, there's no,
hey,
there's
what? I just got my 3-year-olds playing Zombie Dice. So,
but that's different. Like, that's awesome. Yeah, like, that's great. But like, when my brother comes over, I don't want to roll dice and be like, well, I guess I got all shotguns. That sucks. I guess it's your turn. Like, no, like, I am gonna kick the shit out of you. So it was funny because I guess I was listening. Maybe it was like episode 311, Kurt, or maybe it was a tweet or so. I don't even know how it came up, but I know I tweeted at you, and Tracy had said something to the effect of, I guess it was episode 311. Like I just want to play a game. Like I don't want to have this cutthroat and like rub it in your face like all this. And I texted their. I tweeted to Kurt. I'm like, well, I guess we'll never be able to play games together.
Well, it's funny that you say that too, because when it comes to abstract games, apparently that piece of my brain fell out a long time ago. So when I play these games, it's not that I don't have fun with them. I do. I just don't win at them. So that part is kind of frustrating when you're like, man, apparently there's just something that needs to click. Maybe I need to smack my head a little harder. Something needs to happen. We, for the first time, me and Tracy actually played an exit game, and wow, I was just so lost. And I'm glad they give you clue cards to like help you out. But literally I'm like, what is going on? And then they give you a clue and I'm like, nope, still don't know. Let's look at the next one. Okay, we're getting warmer. Let's just look at the solution because I don't know, and then you look at the solution, you go, I guess I'll have to put this together to see what happens, and they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And it's funny too, because when I'll watch movies and I'll watch shows, like I'll watch Sherlock Holmes, and I can be like, oh, I get what's going on here. Okay, cool, but then I play these games and I'm like, wow, I'm glad I don't get stuck in these situations because I'd be dead, starving, stabbed to death, whatever, it's just like, wow, holy crap.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like we were talking about with with reviewing board games. Like, not every game is for every player, but there's stuff out there that like I love Splendor. We still play the shit out of Splendor. I just got the app; it was on sale. I play it by myself now. Like, there's never a time that won't be. It just scratched that itch for me to play that game. But then, there's other people you're like. Oh, I love Splendor. Like, Splendor, no theme, blah, 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 whatever. I'm like, grab the chips. Like, if you have the original edition, and I do, and I went to eBay to get it because I'm like, it's just so satisfying to clink, clink, clink. It's amazing. It's just, there's something about certain games that really just kind of get the hooks into you. And like, for me, like, that's just abstract is the thing. Like, for whatever reason.
Sometimes I think the abstracts are a little easier for people to grok. Like Santorini's like super easy to teach to people, and it's not a very thematic game per se, but
it's pretty.
It's gorgeous, yeah. And then you can teach it to a 5-year-old. It's so simple. It's like move and build. Azul is another one. Like that's a total abstract game, but it's super easy to teach to people, and it's like attractive pieces, and pretty soon you're playing and you're like screwing each other over, and there's a lot of interaction, and like it's a great time.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing. Like with the abstracts, is like you're saying, they're very easy to teach. There's not quote unquote a lot to it, but then you get into start playing it, and the depth of strategy on a lot of these games is really where it gets you. And like that's where it feeds for me, like that alpha gamer kind of thing. Like I'm gonna like just rub your nose on the board because I'm just gonna like it's just it's great. Yeah, I definitely get a kick out of that. But so talking about then games we picked up last year. So like we got Blue Lagoon at the end of the year. We got Crusaders towards the end of the year, which I finally got my first win today. I think I actually won last night. My daughter's boyfriend cheated. I think he just walked by, which is kind of my fault. I thought I went first, so I'm like I took the last bit of the influence tokens, and I'm like I think that's it. And I'm like no wait, I went first. So you go again. But he went first. Fuck. So I was thinking about it this morning, like, damn it, I think I won that game last night.
Retcon.
Yeah. Is there anything that you guys picked up that you were like super looking forward to last year? Something that was new for you? Just what was your best play last year? All that kind of stuff.
Geez. Let's see. Based on the number of plays that I've got of certain games, I'd probably list, I think there's 4 that stick out for me. Azul is one. I've played the crap out of Azul. 30.
And you're not good at it either.
Yeah, I just get my ass handed to me on the regular. Oh boy, my wife just wipes the floor with me. It's funny.
That's a mark of a good game, is if you can lose it like consistently and still want to come back for more beatings.
I lose routinely at games. I'm good at publishing and designing them, not winning them at all.
We are not allowed to buy an expansion to any game until I've won it, and we don't own many expansions.
Nice.
I would never own expansions at that rate. I also played Palm Island. That was a solo play game that I got off Kickstarter, and that was an amazing solo game because you play it just holding the cards in your hand. And so I could literally play it anywhere. I would play it on the train, like going into work. That was really cool. What was another one? The Estates. Oh my God, I fell in love with that game. And again, that game is just vicious. Oh my God, it's the meanest thing ever. More abstract, not a very thematic game. I think, John, you would love that game.
Okay.
It plays in like 45 minutes, super easy to teach, and just it's a knife fight out of the gate. It's a knife fight.
Estates, I'm going to write it down. That's my next purchase.
No, John, you have to do all the research first. Otherwise you can't buy it.
I will, believe me. I get Christmas money burned a hole in my pocket.
Nice.
All right, what about you, Kurt?
For me, I was actually able to play this game for the first time last year, and it's actually my favorite board game now. Orleans by Tasty Minstrel Games. Just everything about that game is so much fun. Just how many avenues of winning and the certain things you can do. And I really give it up to Tasty Minstrel because they really know how to put out a good game. You know, I've heard it takes them a long time to kind of get their stuff out, but I feel like they do a really good job of pooling all their resources together to make something that's replayable and something that people can enjoy time in and time out. So it's one of those games that every time somebody says that game or I think about it, I go, oh, I got to play that game again. And to tell you the truth, there's not a lot of games out there where I think, as soon as I think about the game, I'm like, I want to play this game again. There's not that many out there. You know, Azul is another one of those. Like, I've had so much fun with that. I've played it in like a bunch of different player accounts, which is something I've never done with games because unfortunately we don't have a lot of people that play games around here. So I don't get to play multiple player counts. You know, if I'm lucky, if Logan will play, we can play 3 players, or maybe if we can get there's another family that lives close, we've been able to play 4 players and stuff. But we were able to go to a local con and play a 4-player game of Azul, and it was just as fun as playing with 2 and playing with 3. Like, it's just, you can play it like 50 different times and not necessarily have the same strategy and still, figure out a way. And even at playing at 4 players, I actually won the damn thing. I think. Did I win that on? I think I did. And I was just, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, I won an abstract game. This is like, I need to pull out a shirt, write down the date and time, and wear it forever, that kind of thing. What else did I play this year that I was really excited about? Spirit Island, something that kind of came out of nowhere. When me and Tracy first tried to learn it, like the instructions were just so much that I was like, we were both just like, we started it late too, so we're both tired, and after a while we're like, we quit. We can't play this right now. We just can't do it. We set it all up. We were ready to kind of dig into it. We're both just like, I can't do it. And then finally you pulled it out for Mike, and I actually sat down by myself and I learned the rules and kind of tried to play it myself, and then played it with Mike, and then finally played it again, I think with Tracy again. Or maybe it was just Mike a couple of times. And man, that game got a great theme, but like just everything that kind of happens within the game is so exciting that it's just like, wow, it's just a ton of fun. And then like I got a bunch of games for Christmas, and the one that I'm super excited to play, or a couple of them. One of them is Coimbra. That's everyone kind of talked about this game last year, and it didn't get as much hype as I thought it would. But now as it got towards the end of 2018, people talked about it a little bit more, and I'm like, I am so psyched to play this game because it's a dice roller, but it's also kind of a Euro too, so it kind of blends two of my favorite things. And then just because everybody talks about Concordia and so much of a love, I got that for Christmas, so I'm kind of excited to open that up and see how that is too. So,
cool. I got a question for you. Have you played Brass Lancashire?
No, I still have not. No.
Based on your taste, I think you would dig that one a lot because, I mean, there's a bit of a setup to it, but the gameplay is really simple. It's just play a card, do a thing. But what things you do and how you like layer them to trigger other things, like, well, I need to do this before I can do that, and I need to make this other thing happen. And you're like planning this whole like kind of event chain. There's a lot to it, and it's one of those you get done, you're like, okay, I want to play this game again, but I want to play it with a different strategy, and I want to try some different things out. And
nice.
we played it like 3 or 4 times, and that's an amazing game.
Nice. Put it on the list.
I've given everyone a game. All right.
Yay. You've done your job.
All right, what about you, Jesse?
You should just skip me because I'm a horrible person. And I've bought like a couple of card games this year.
Any new RPGs for you then this year?
No, I mean, I bought like all the D&D 5th edition books that came out because I'm a whore. But like that's it. And yeah, the problem is I have such a huge backlog right now. We're still playing. I'm in September of Pandemic Legacy Season 2 and still haven't touched Charterstone. Only played a couple of games of Gloomhaven. Actually I did just pick up the Betrayal Legacy, and
nice.
But like pack wrapper still on it. I feel I don't even want to pull it out because I know it's going to be forever till I play it. And I just have to get out of the stupid legacy thing. I have to get out of it and actually just start playing real games that I don't feel like I have to play to completion, which is like 15 to 20 games in a row and takes up my whole year.
Yeah. Something tells me you won't get out of that though, because you're so focused on story and where the story goes that I feel like that would be hard for you. And that's where, like, it's not a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing at all, because I remember back when quite a bit ago when we were talking about running some D&D stuff, and I had asked you if you had some references that I could use, and all of a sudden, yeah, here you go. And I'm like, holy shit, you've got a lot. So, you know, I definitely know where that comes from, where it's like, you know, if you have a love of something that you will, you know, have all the stuff because you want to know the ins and outs of it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse, I've even got a game that you should check out.
Oh, nice.
Let's see if I can bet 3 out of 3 here. It's a game called Folklore of the Affliction. It's the closest I've seen to a role-playing game as a tabletop game.
Really?
So it's got 2 different aspects to it. Everybody has a character. Your characters evolve as you play. Your stats go up and all that sort of thing, like you would expect from a role-playing game. And you're traveling over this world map. You've got a destination to go to, and on your way you have these random encounters, and sometimes they're like decisions you have to make, like, do you go help this person out, or, you know, do you take on this thing? Sometimes you'll encounter, you know, random monsters or things like that. And it's a super simple, like, quick combat system. They don't really like bog it down.
Mm-hmm.
The main focus is getting you to that end goal. Once you get to that end goal, suddenly you've got these little mini maps that you're playing on, and you're moving these figures around. So it's more like kind of tactical placement.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got like some big bad that you've got to defeat, right? And so you're working together, kind of not quite Gloomhaven-ish, but in that sort of same concept, I guess, because you're not doing any like deck building or anything like that. It's just, I've got these powers, I've got these things that I've got so far. And even if you die on the way to, like, you know, fighting the big bad, your ghost kind of sticks around and can help out and do like distraction type stuff. And then you go back and you can resurrect people and continue on to the next story. And there's actually like a full storybook that comes along with this game. really amazing production. We've had a blast with it. We've only been able to play it like twice so far, but there's a lot of content there just in the base game alone. So that's something that you might want to check out.
What was the name of the game? I'm sorry to cut in. I caught everything but the beginning.
Folklore: The Affliction.
Oh, okay.
This actually does. Yeah, it looks right up my alley.
Yeah.
You are good, sir. 3 for 3.
Nice. Another one that I'm actually really excited to play that I haven't yet, and I heard about this through another podcast, is Coma Ward. And I think Sean, you've played that, haven't you?
I just got it in actually over holiday break, so we're gonna try and get that played. Well, I think in the next month or two.
Yeah. It's funny because like I wrote a short story about someone in a coma and stuff like that, and then when I heard about this game, I'm like, oh my god, this just totally sounds like my story, but with good elements in a board game. And I'm like, and it's very episodic and story driven. I'm like, wow, I gotta play this game. It just sounds like something like I've never seen before, and it's even got like the don't let your kids play it. It's got like a like a PG-13 rated R kind of thing on it.
Well, they've even got like the game is full of, there's a bunch of boxes, right? Like deck boxes, and they're filled with all the different content. So as you're going through each one, you're like, okay, we're opening this box, and this has like whatever story pieces we need and whatnot. And there's trigger warnings on some of them. Are like, if XXX bothers you, then skip this one. These are the triggers to worry about on this one. Like, and some of them are like, holy crap, this sounds like a dark story. This sounds amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Interesting. Leah's in the chat. She says same thing with her. All the 5e books, a couple of sessions of Tales from the Loop, so more on the RPG side, so kind of thing. I think new for us this year too. We picked up. We were at Target, and they had 7 Wonders for like $8.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm just like, it's Ward. I'm just gonna get it. Like fucking $8.
You can't pass that up.
Yeah, because it's like a $40 game or something at the store. So I'm like, fuck it. So we sat down and played it, and we got done, and my daughter was like, again, we played again. So we played the shit out, and we've been playing a hell of a lot of that. I went Broken Token. I went to go look. They didn't have them. As we got closer to the holidays, I saw it again on Amazon, and I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna get it. And she's like, no, it's too much money. Don't get it. I'm like, I'm gonna get it. She's like, you don't need them. I'm like, no, you don't understand. You need good components to play a game. So I got them, and we've been playing with that. We played the other day, and she's like, I love these coins. So that one's getting a ton of plays from us right now too.
Well, here's a question just to kind of not keep the board game thing going so much or whatever, but like, just a question for you and Jesse, like when you guys are doing the RPG thing, like again, a lot of stuff is online, but like, do you have anything physical that you guys like to use? Because I know sometimes people like to go off script and kind of like, oh, here, I'll send you a PDF of a scroll that I made, online and stuff like that. Or do you have like a group that you play when you're at home and stuff like that, and you kind of use components and stuff like that to kind of broaden the horizons of the game?
For me, no, only because I'm lazy and so like when I plan a session, like I don't plan ahead. And even when I do, I plan like session to session, and it's a really bare bones outline. For the pure fact of like I've put in a lot of work for things. I've built like big set pieces and all that kind of stuff, and they get used once. And I've put like 7-8 hours into crafting this thing, and then it gets used for an hour, and then goes up in the attic and hides out until forever. And then, before I have done like little bits of parchment and all that kind of stuff, and it was fun, but it's the same. It's like a shock value of the character, of the players. So it's like, wow, this is really cool, and then it goes away. And it's not like when you buy like the really good components for a board game, you're using those. every single time, and you feel like you've got, like, even if you spend a little extra money on it, like you just said, John, like you at least feel like you're getting something out of it, like you're using these all the time. But if you put a lot of time or a lot of money into something for a game like that, it gets used once, maybe twice, and then it gets cast off to the side. So yeah, no, I don't plan ahead a lot, and I don't tend to invest a lot of time or effort into things that are going to be like one use.
Gotcha.
Mainly because I also don't have the time to do that. Yeah. I wish when I was working from home and it didn't matter and I could do that stuff at the same time, then yeah, that's when I built like 6-story towers.
Yeah, as far as the board game stuff, like the tokens, like, so they don't intrinsically change the game, right? So the cardboard 1s and 3s and 6s, they do the exact same thing, but there's such a visceral, thing to like be able to pick up a little metal coin and you toss it to the next player, you throw it back in the pile. It's so satisfying. That's the nice thing about Tasty Minstrel. The components with all their games are just, and if you go deluxeified on anything, like, it's just amazing. The quality that they're doing over there. For RPG stuff, I don't run anything at home anymore. When I was running a game, I made props. I created, villages and we were doing a Star Wars. We were playing Saga System one time, and same thing. I got terrain and shit all over the board, and I'm hand drawn maps out and everything. And we were playing something. They were going to meet a character. I forget what the species was, but they liked yellow. So I have a cloak, because I've been dressed up before. So I'm like, hold on a minute, I'll be right back. I run down into the basement. I put on my yellow SpongeBob pajamas, this yellow shirt on. I throw the cloak on. I made a head of a protocol droid, essentially C-3PO. Colored it all in green and brown and everything, so it's like all rusty and everything. Taped it all up to like a milk jug. I come running back upstairs, doing the accent, all dressed up. I throw the fucking head on the table. Like, yeah, I've done all that.
That's
awesome.
Yeah. In my limited play, like, I've run a couple of things, and I actually ran an old Star Wars campaign at one point, and it's actually, me and John were talking before we went on the air, and we were talking about like stories and characters that we had from the past, and I'm like, I can't remember yesterday, so I'm not gonna remember what happened so many years ago. But I remember I actually ran a campaign that was a couple of my buddies, and it was this nice episodic story, and it ran really well. I was really proud of myself for what I came up with, because sometimes I'm not very good at that kind of stuff, but I did a pretty good job. Made a lot of maps. We actually, at the time, I can't remember what company, but a company had like a lot of miniatures for a miniature game. So I just stole a bunch of those from one of my buddies and then bought a few more. And then at the end, it was this big mech droid that almost looked like as big as like an AT or like an ATST. And one of the guys was at the legs. One of the guys was at the top. The guy on the top actually went through with the lightsaber all the way through it. Was gonna blow up the machine, and the machine starts to fall, and he gets his foot caught in between where he had put the lightsaber and the machine, and it goes to fall over. And then I have the other player roll basically like to get out of the way, doesn't get out of the way, so the thing falls over, explodes, they both die at the end. It was just like, it was the most epic thing ever, because I was like, because I'm one of these GMs that like I'm not afraid to kill anybody. I'm like, I don't care who you are, I don't care if you have a wife, I don't care if you have family. If you don't roll right, or if you say something wrong to the wrong person, you are gonna go. So it was funny, because it was one of those things at the end where everybody just kind of stopped. And then my buddy looked at me and goes, damn, that was amazing. And we're all just laughing and having a good time. It was like sad, but at the same time, like, wow, I can't believe that just happened. So it's fun to have those things when you take the time to do those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and stuff like that's more memorable a lot of times too. Like, yeah, it's cool, you crit and you do your double damage or whatever, but it's like, hey, remember that time you tried to shimmy up the fucking rain spout and it fell off and you landed in the street? Like, that's the stuff that, like, that's really cool. I enjoy that so much more.
Yeah.
Have any of you guys ever played Dungeon Crawl Classics?
Oh, yes.
Sort of.
You get people that get obliterated.
Yep. I just ran for John and a few other people. I took the DCC character funnel, and I mean, it's really, I converted it into 5e. It's pretty much almost exactly the same. Yeah. Oh, it was awesome. One of the guys lost. I created like a little mini adventure, and one of the guys lost 3 of his 4 characters right off the bat. They fell off a log across a ravine
or rope bridge or something.
Yeah, rope bridge. That's it. Yeah, but yeah, that one character lasted to the very end. So that. And we ended up 16 characters started off with, and 4 survived.
Yeah, I think so.
And you get done, you're like, that character feels so epic because they survived this bloodbath of just death everywhere. Like, yes, now this is a hero.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, it was 3 halflings and a Kenku. A little weird.
It's funny. Well, I know, Sean, you were saying that you're checking BGG to see like what your plays were and everything. So do you track your plays then over the course of the year?
Oh yeah. I don't track like win-loss ratio. It'd be like 100% loss. But
you don't need to feel that bad about yourself at the end of the year.
Exactly. Like, I remember that. That's fine. But I do track the games that I play just as a way to like go back and like, oh yeah, I played this, and just out of curiosity, like data points and stuff like that, just to see what I've played and refreshers and all that sort of thing.
Does that pay any dividends as a designer to see, like, to look back at the year and kind of where your headspace is at with games that you were playing and how that affects your design and stuff?
I don't know if it affects my design. I think the things that I play through the year will definitely impact like where I'm going as a designer, where as my skills are evolving and things like that, for sure. It's more of an interesting reflection of, oh, I can see where my tastes are getting a little heavier. I was playing lighter stuff and now I'm playing heavier stuff, like brass, for example. Like 2 years ago, there's no way I would have played brass, but like now I was like, oh, that was a lot of fun. It was just crunchy enough, and I had a lot of decisions to make. The fact that I'm working on a worker placement game is kind of mind blowing to me, considering like where I'd started. So like, yeah, I mean, it's all kind of a growth thing, and I'm kind of a data whore anyway. Like I love crunching spreadsheets and number crunching and all that sort of stuff. So it's just another thing for me to nerd out on.
Now, a little bit of a derail question for you then. When you are looking at designing a game, do you always design something that you're going to want to play, or do you sometimes, or how many times do you try to design something that will sell? Like, do you ever make games for the market, or do you always kind of make games to make games?
Definitely to make games.
Yeah.
It has to be something that I'm excited about, that inspires me, that I find a creative reason behind. There's a couple of designs that I've got that stemmed out of, I don't like this type of game. How could I take the concepts of that game and turn them into something that would interest me? Now, whether that's commercially viable or not, who knows? But that seemed like an interesting design point to stand, to jump off of.
Nice.
And basically all the things either come out. I design it one of two ways. Either A, there's some sort of mechanic that sounds really interesting, like, hey, this seems like a cool thing to do inside of a game, or it's I would love to see a game about X, and then okay, well, what would be part of that happening?
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, unfortunately, for having a podcast, you think that I would track plays, but I don't at all, which is so dumb of me. So I think that's going to be one of my resolutions because, like, even coming to this, like you were talking about, oh, let's talk about some games we played in the past and stuff like that, And I was like, oh my god, what did I even play? And then I'm like, oh, I played this. Wait a minute. Was that last year or was that 2 years ago? It's like you always, it's just what you almost wonder, like, okay, is that because for our podcast, we don't necessarily focus on all new games. So sometimes we'll focus on a game that, a lot of people will be like, okay, that's like 10 years ago. Why would I care about this game? Well, there's a lot of people that haven't played this game. So maybe we're going to talk somebody new into playing it. So, I want to try that now that I have the BGG app on my phone. I'd actually like to start doing that. So now I'm going to go back and log in a couple of games I played yesterday, so I can be on the way to do that. Hopefully.
Yeah, see, I don't do it either, and I wonder, like you're saying, if I should, because I certainly don't subscribe to the cult of the new. So I may be playing, like Seven Wonders came out in what 2009, I think, 2010. So like it's old, and like, yay, just found it. 8 years later, whatever, played the shit out of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I see it come across Twitter sometimes. I know there's some people that I follow that, hey, I played this today. I played this today. I don't know. I mean, it may be interesting to go back and look to see. We try to vary it up at work because we play so much stuff as 2-player. I mean, we'll play, 3 days out of the week, every week, if we're both at work. Like we just play all the time. So we're always trying to mix it up so we're not playing the same stuff, but we do play a lot of the same stuff because we enjoy it, right? I mean, like we were saying earlier, people are, I played that fight. Like I figured that game out. I played it. It's not interesting anymore. We're like, again, I'll go back to Splendor because it's just such a bellwether for us. I mean, we just play like, hey, we haven't played that in like 2 weeks. We should play Splendor again, and we'll just play Splendor for a whole lunch period. Like it's never not enjoyable, And some games are not like, we have Kittens in a Blender. It's okay. The art is really cute. We make horrible blending noises when we play, but it's not going to be the first thing that I grab off the shelf, like ever. But we might play it once in a while.
Well, I guess some friends in my game group that actually track like win-loss ratio, and they track like scores and all that sort of thing. And that's more of a, I think, trying to be better at playing, or seeing like, am I having growth in the game? Like, are different strategies working better? Like, they're not like designing and publishing and all that sort of thing, and have all that other stuff to worry about. So they can just be like, I can be a gamer and just focus on that sort of thing. So that's cool for for them, and that gives them an outlet to actually track all that kind of stuff.
I think maybe I'm sorry, I cut you off again, Jesse. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
I just say maybe because of the way that I play with my brother, the way that we kind of play at work. That sort of very adversarial alpha dominance kind of thing. I think it might be interesting to track at least those plays against those two guys and see. Because then, like, at the end of the year, like, I beat you like 40 times at this game.
No wonder you're so adversarial. You played so many damn games with your brother. You're just like, I have to destroy everyone.
Well, and here's like, so it's weird, right? So we're playing today. So we have Crusaders. I've had it for a couple of weeks. So I played with a guy at work. We played at work, and I had played it once already. So I'm, explaining the game to him. We're going through it. He came over after work. A week later, we played a 4-player. My daughter's boyfriend played, my brother, guy from work, and me. And again, every time I play, I lose. So we're playing at work again today, and I'm like, hey, this is what we were doing wrong, because I'm terrible with rules. Hence, YouTube, watching a playthrough video, and questions to Sean. So when I roll the die, it says to do this, but hear me out, because I'm awful. So like we're going through, and he's like, oh, he had so for the game, you have a rondel, and you distribute everything from your bin Mon Cala style. So like if I want to build, then I have 2 tokens. I move them to the next 2 things. So he went to do his action, and he had a split. You can upgrade your wedge so you can do 2 actions on your turn. So he's like, well, I'm gonna do X thing. And I'm looking at his board, and I'm like, well, but you have like extra stuff. So like if you do that action, you can also do this action. He's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm like, fuck, why am I? And like next turn around again, he's like, all right, I'm like, okay, but you see that if you do like this and this, like that's better for you, right? Like you see, like I'm not saying do it, but if you're gonna do this, you might as well do that. And he's like, yeah, and I'm like, fuck me, like just shut up, stop helping. So as much as I want to win, like the guy that I play with at work is not a board gamer by nature. Like I've kind of brought him in. I'm like, hey, this is a cool thing. You should do it. And he's, getting more and more into it, but it's always kind of like guiding and nurturing when we're playing. Cause it's like, I play all the time and he plays a lot more than he used to, but because I'm so into it, I'm like, hey, like this is like, check this out for the strategy. Like maybe you didn't notice this. And then I lose, and I'm like, well, fuck.
I'll usually do that if I'm playing, especially if I'm playing with new people, where for me, it's more important that they're having fun and that they have a good experience. Not that I throw the game, but just that I want to make sure that they are aware of the gameplay space, and like, oh, hey, here's some different options. Not, I won't tell them like, you must do this. It's more like, hey, here's a thing you could do, or you could do this. That would screw me over pretty good. And then they do, and like, yep, that totally screwed me over. Thanks. That's awesome.
Then you wait till they have enough plays in, and then you really put the screws.
Exactly.
Oh, wait, it doesn't happen anyway.
And now by that time, they're too good, and they're legit beating you.
Yep.
Yeah. So go ahead, Jesse. I cut you off like 4 times.
No, I was just gonna throw something stupid in because I really want to start tracking all my wins and losses and what games I've played now because I want to know how many times I lose at Candyland and Cat's Pajamas.
Just to let you know, when you play, everyone loses on that. No, I'm just kidding.
Especially when you do Drunk Candyland at Christmas.
Oh. Hey, good callback. That's something I was actually going to bring up. One of our like first like so many episodes, we decided to do Drunk Candyland.
Oh, geez.
What was it? Every time you pulled out a double color, you had to take a shot.
Or it was like 4 shots.
Oh my
God! It was like a drink for every orange, but then it was like double, so it was like 4. It was crazy.
It was so dumb. And it's funny too because it was one of those things. Before we even started the podcast, we were like, "We need to play this. This is going to be a blast." And then we did it, and we're like, "That is the last time we ever do that." It was just like, I think my buddy ended up throwing up all night, and it was just like it was.
It sounded bad. I mean,
it was
bad.
Alcohol. Yeah, actually, it was my wife. Apparently, it was my wife that she's pointing at herself. It was my wife that threw up.
I don't even think she was playing, was she?
She was. Oh man! But I will tell you, at the time, it was a blast. Even as everyone kept saying, "Why in the hell are we still doing this?
Why are we doing this?" That's awesome.
Dumb. Young and dumb. That's what we do.
Well, one of you guys mentioned solo playing because of the social nature of gaming. We'll get together, just kind of hang around and just talk shit at each other and play games and all that stuff. Do you guys enjoy? Do you do any solitary gaming at all? Any solo plays on stuff? I know for me, like I can't, like, beating myself is not an enjoyable.
Okay, now we're gonna get into a weird territory here. Let's get away from that, please.
Phrasing.
Yeah, like there's no.
There's no fun in beating yourself.
There's no fun in beating yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on
that extra word,
I suppose, but
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't like. I have a couple of things that you could have Death Angel, the Warhammer 40K thing, and I got Dungeon Roll because it was single player, and I'm like, if the kids don't want to play or whatever, maybe. I think I've done it like once or twice. I'm like, this is just not, because there's no social anything. You're just sitting there rolling dice or flipping cards. Like, it just doesn't do it.
I started doing more than I have in the past. There's a couple games. Rise to Nobility. It's a big worker placement game that I backed up Kickstarter. I want to say it was their first worker placement game that this company did, and it was I played it as a solo just to learn the rules, and it was actually a lot of fun, and it was incredibly tough, and it was one that was like, okay, I can do this again. Even though there's a lot of setup to it. Palm Island, that's a solo game that, like I said, I could take anywhere and play. That was cool. I'm actually going to be publishing a solo, well, very likely publishing a solo game that someone's working on. So that's kind of cool as well. So I'm glad I started kind of getting more into that and kind of examining like the whole like solo game thing. So yeah, here and there I will.
Okay. Either you guys, Kurt or Jesse, do any kind of solo gaming?
Most of the time, if I'm by myself, I'm putting my time into I mean, I don't want to say more productive things, but things that can make me money.
Sure. That's fair.
But yeah, but no, I actually just picked up, I can't remember the exact name of it, but do I have it on my shelf? No, it must be upstairs because I was just playing it the other day. Oh no, there it is. It's the House of Danger. Choose your own adventure.
Oh, so good.
Yes, I keep losing really early on because I play it. But so if you, it's a choose your own adventure card game, and so like the old school books where you read it and it says choose A or B, and if you choose A, go to this page, B this page, and it's the same thing. So you have a deck of cards, and it says. They're all numbered, and it says, if you do this, go to card 16. If you do this, go to card 23. And you can do it as a group, and where everybody kind of you pass the deck around, and everyone can make a choice. But I've only played it solo so far, and it's really cool. I haven't made it past the chapter 1, and there's 5. I've only had it for a few days, but there's 5 chapters that come in it. And it's really cool because it reminds me of my childhood, and it's again that solo RPG storytelling card game aspect where you can do it by yourself, and yeah, I like it.
Yeah, and the cool thing about that game is that's an actual book that you can get and just read
really?
if you want. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
It's actually based off an old book, so they just made it to its own game. I haven't played that solo, but I actually really want to. I've played that once all the way through with my buddy Mike, and then I played a little bit with my son Logan, and it seemed like he enjoyed it, but feels like I have to like drag him to the table to play a board game these days. He's so into video games or whatever, but. I've gotten more into single player games too myself because I bought Desolate by Grey Gnome Games, which is kind of like you're stuck on the moon, is it? I think it's you're stuck on the moon. You're trying to get away from aliens and stuff like that, and that's a fun little roll and kind of use cards to maneuver yourself to escape or whatever, and that's really fun. And then when I tried to teach myself Spirit Island, that's an actual 1-player game, so I actually taught myself to you use 2 spirits or whatever, so you're not technically playing 1 player, but I was able to play that with some success. And what I'm trying to do is when like say my wife isn't feeling any good, or if I just can't get somebody to play a game with me, I'll try to find some of my games and just look and say, hey, is this 1-player variant or is this 1-player game? And then I'll try to play it. The other day I was really excited because I'm a really big fan of the Dresden File books. Mm-hmm. So I actually got the Dresden Files co-op game, and it says it's 1 player. So I was like, oh, awesome. I'll be able to learn this myself and teach everybody else. You have to play 3 characters in a 1-player game. What? Are you fucking kidding me? Wow. No way. Like it's hard enough for me to play a couple of players and do that. It's like, here, take all the cards for this player and all the cards for this and all the cards for this character and play it. I'm like, No, I am sorry. No way.
I thought you said this was a solo game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, theoretically, I could play any game by myself if I wanted to play 3 to 4 people.
Yeah, exactly. Apparently, I'm playing a guy with multiple personalities because I'm playing too many different characters.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been fun to try to do that because it's also forced me to learn games more too. Where I think when you're by yourself, you have more time to focus on every little thing, where sometimes if you have a big group, sometimes it's hard to kind of focus on the rules and the play and stuff like that sometimes because of what's going on.
I also have a feeling that if you're playing if you're playing in a group, you almost feel like you need to just move on. Like, I'm not entitled, like you have a question, but if it requires a little too much rule searching or flipping through the book, you might just be like, I'll put that aside for now. And then you never go back to it. Whereas if you're just playing by yourself, there's no time limit. It doesn't matter how long your turn takes because it's only your turn.
True.
It's kind of like an RPG in that respect. Like, I'm not sure of that rule. We'll do it this way, and then we'll go back and we'll check on it.
There's a series of books that Van Ryder put out. Let's see here: Tears of a Goddess, Captive, Sherlock Holmes, Loop Guru, and Your Town. Yeah, Your Town. So basically, they're choose your own adventure style books, but they're in graphic novel format. And it's you actually kind of roll up a little bit of a character, and as you're going through, like things are happening to your character, you take damage or whatever, and they're all like very different stories. I picked up a couple of those off Kickstarter, and those have been really cool as well.
Nice. That sounds like fun.
Interesting. Cool. I don't follow like board gaming news, so like I don't know what's coming up for this year. Like I don't have anything that's like on the horizon. Like, I gotta make sure that I'm gonna pick this up when it's coming out. Sean and Kurt, you guys are a little bit more in tune to that kind of stuff. Do you have anything that's coming up that you're like, this is like as soon as this hits the shelf, like it's in the collection, like this is what I want to be playing? Anything like that that's coming out?
Go ahead, Kurt.
I'll throw it to you, Sean. No, I don't have anything. I try not to get too far into that kind of thing because I feel like it goes back to what we were talking about before. Like we need everything, a lot of times I don't like to jump too far forward into anything. Like I don't really feel like there's anything right now that I'm just like, I'm dying to have, I like to kind of see where the year kind of takes me, and like there'll be some things that I'll experience. Like we're gonna go to a local con here in February called Con of the North. It's just a little thing in Minneapolis. Well, Floodgate Games is gonna be there, and it'll be nice to talk to them because they're coming out with like Bad Maps game, Bosk I think is the other one, and then 3 more expansions for Sagrada, which I really like. So it'll be kind of nice to be like, let's see what those are about and see if I get excited about it, So
I've got 2 things that I'm actually really excited about because I need all the things. There's an expansion for Dice Forge that's coming out. It's supposed to be coming out this year.
No, there is?
Yeah, there totally is.
Okay, I changed my mind. I'm really excited about the expansion for Dice Forge. I seriously been ever since I played that game, and I think like not this year, but not last year, but the year before was the first time I played that game. I've been saying this needs an expansion big time because I could just see how far it could go on forever. It seems like.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much opportunity there to do just all kinds of crazy stuff with that game. I mean, you're literally crafting dice, like it's just so much, so cool. Cool. Yeah, I'm really excited about the expansion for that. I'm also really excited about the expansion for Great Western Trail.
Nice.
The cow deck building game that Stronghold used to have, and they put it back to I can't remember the original publisher, but they kicked it back to them, so they've got an expansion coming out for it, and I love that game. It's not super heavy crunchy, but it's kind of that mid-tier level of heaviness, and you're deck building with cows. That's cool. So
cool. Kurt, you mentioned Sagrada. I think maybe when I was talking to Sean last time he was on, I played it. A guy at work brought it in. We played through it. I'm like, maybe it's pretty. I remember when it was on Kickstarter. I came real close to backing it, and I took it home and we played it over the weekend. My daughter played, and her boyfriend, and everything. And, we played it 5-6 times. And I just gave back to it. And I'm like, if you bring it, I'll play it, but I'm not. It'll never see my collection. Like, it's just. It had the feel to me of a solo game that you were just playing with 4 other people. Like, it just didn't. just didn't do it. I mean,
take that in the dice drafting. Come on, and in the tools that you can use. Come on.
It's not for me. I'm not saying it's a bad game. Like, it just, for me, it doesn't.
Hey, and that's what we've been talking about. Even if you're a loser and you don't like Sagrada, that doesn't mean.
I'll actually join you, John. Sagrada's not a big favorite of mine, only from it's the pip dice. For some reason, to me, that detracts from it.
They're pretty though. I mean, they're all the translucent, and you have all the different colors and stuff. Like, it's a nice looking game.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Azul and the Azul stained glass, I think, are better looking from that perspective. Like, if you're like putting out bits and building that sort of thing. Like, I know there was a lot of like, haha, it's Azul. Sagrada version.
Yeah.
It looks prettier because they're not obscured by the pips for the dice. So I don't know. For some reason, that was a thing for me, and it's just me. So
yeah.
No, I can't get at you guys for that. I mean, if that's not your thing, that's not your thing, obviously.
Right. So the same guy who had Sagrada also brought in Azul. And he was like, we just kind of played, and it was like real mellow, and we were just kind of doing our thing. You can, you kind of see, maybe somebody was going to win. I'm like, let's get that on the table. Let's see how well that goes. So like first turn, like, fuck you. There's 4 reds. You can't play right now, or whatever. Like, it was a completely different game when we played it.
Yeah, Azul is definitely more of a take that game than a lot of games.
Yeah, which is good for me. But even with that being said, it's not one that I picked up. Like, I enjoyed it and I like that aspect of it, but it wasn't one that I was like, ooh, I have to have it.
Yeah, which is funny because like, I know a lot of people that love Santorini, but I have it. It just sits there.
I see it.
Yep. Me and Tracy are both the same way. We're both like, I don't get it.
I mean, we'll play with like 2 God cards sometimes, which gets kind of wacky depending on what your combos are. But I love it. My daughter's boyfriend, he loves it, and he beats me most of the time, which I think is why he likes it.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Yeah. But it's a little brain burner.
I don't like playing with the God cards. I like just the purity of the base game itself. It's very chess-like, right? Like, you have to out-strategize the other player. The God cards, I think, are a good way to, like, if you want to add some different replayability, or if someone's not at the same level as you are, it can level things out a little bit. But
yeah, because Santorini used to be no God cards. It used to be just the building, and then they added that to kind of flavor it up.
Oh, okay. I guess I got one of the. I got it used at the game store, so maybe it had a first expansion or whatever, something in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got a good deal at Gen Con, and that's the only reason why we got it. We ended up getting the Golden Fleece expansion that hasn't even been opened yet.
Feels like there's a lot of that going around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think I have played everything here. I don't think I have anything.
You're one of the very few,
right?
Like, very few. If you wanna pull up a pie chart, it'd be like everybody else, John, and 3 other people.
Yeah. That's all right.
Hey, John, I'm curious. You said that you were like, Azul is okay. Did you feel like it was too light for you, or?
I don't know. I don't know what it was about it, because I enjoyed it, and and again, you could really screw the other player. We do a lot of 2-player gaming, so I don't know if it's maybe like a 2 versus 4, where there's more competitiveness then that goes around with more players at the table, because it's the same, right? I mean, you're using less pieces, so it's exactly the same as with 4. I mean,
Right.
it doesn't, but some games play better at different player counts or whatever. I mean, if someone knocked on my door and said, "Let's play Azul," I would play it in a heartbeat. I feel like it's one that I just wouldn't play enough to own it. I mean, again, it's not inexpensive. It's it's not $100 game, but it's a $40 game, $45 game, or something like that.
I only ask because stained glass. I have seen people say that they like gamers tend to like that one more because there's a little bit more to it, rather than like Azul is definitely the easier, like casual gamer.
Sure.
You can play with anybody. Stained glass, I actually played it with my wife because she loves Azul, and she was like, "Oh yeah, let's play stained glass." And she's like, "Meh, I'd rather play the other one."
Mm-hmm.
But I actually found like there's a lot more depth in stained glass than there was with Azul, so
right,
that's something to think about.
Yeah, I mean, it's because you have to make those interesting choices, right? Like that's what it's about. The game itself is simple, but it's like, oh shit, do I take the one, yellow burst on this one and dump that, and then like, maybe I'm gonna get screwed. Like if there's, 2 reds left, like I really enjoy that aspect of it. I don't know, maybe I'm talking myself back into looking at it again. I don't know.
That game is so take thatty that I would think that you would really dig it. I really do. It's kind of like some things I can understand, but like for this one, I just feel like that would be more in your wheelhouse.
Yeah. I mean, it is for sure. But like I'm all over the board. Like I love, we have regular love letter, Lovecraft love letter, all the dice of games. Splendor, none of which are terribly complicated, but, I love like, Shogun, Mexica, maybe not, not like heavy Euro, but like, Mexica and, love letter, like your worlds apart in play style and, dynamics and everything else. I mean, even, Samurai or Through the Desert, it's not super complicated, not real heavy but, sort of abstract and, much deeper strategy. So like I'm everywhere, like there's not like one specific thing that like, oh, I can only really like this thing. I'm like, oh, cool. I'll play that and I'll play this. And what do you have over there? Let me try that. I want to do that too.
Mexico's a really vicious game as well, though. It's one of those it seems like it's not super mean. You get playing, you're like, oh man, you can really just twist the knife at people in that game.
Well, that was kind of the way I played it at a con. I think it was at RenCon, and I saw it come on the schedule. I'm like, that looks interesting. I don't know, whatever. Like you're at a con, I'm just going to play a game. And the guy started explaining it. We started getting a couple of rounds in, and we got done. And I'm like, where is this at the store? Like, can I get it? Because I'm going to order it like right now. And he's like, well, it's kind of hard to find, blah, blah, to the Amazons. I got it for like $40.
Nice.
He's like, yeah, it's like an $80 game. And I'm like, oh, I don't, probably not. And I mean, I buy 95% of my stuff at the game store. And I saw it for whatever it was, like $42. I'm like, I'm just going to get it. I mean, the pieces are amazing. The gameplay is a lot of fun, but you need 3 to 4. Like we played with 2 and it was, not as great.
Sweet spot for that.
Yeah. But I mean, it was the same thing with Seven Wonders. We did the 2-player version with the regular box, and it's okay. You can screw the other player by playing other cards. Duel, we play the crap out of Duel, and it's so much fun.
Yeah,
it gets a little repetitive, but when you're playing with the same 2 or 3 people, it's always like, oh, remember last time.
I've found a certain fondness for games that look really peaceful and calm. But then you play them and you're like, man, this game is just mean-spirited and vicious. Citrus, I think that's by Tasty Minstrel. That's another example where you look at the box art and it's like someone picking up an orange off a tree. Like, it looks like a sweet little game. And you play it like, oh, it's all these pretty colors. And you get, as you're going through, you're like, wow, people are just screwing each other left and right. It's just vicious game.
I should probably write that one down too. Cool. All right. Well, so I mean, we could probably do this for a couple hours, but I know it's getting late for everybody. So what do you guys have coming up this year? Pimp stuff you have going on? Jesse, I realized after I tagged you in the tweet that I should have used the Monster Hunt podcast and not the Dragon Fisters. Like, what a retard.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, go ahead. Use my use the podcast that hasn't released an episode in a year.
I
That's
know,
fine.
but it was
Do
like
that one.
the default, you know. It was like, shit. So let's start with you then. So you've got a new podcast coming up. Maybe.
Yeah. So it's a D&D 5e actual play and kind of a semi continuation of the previous podcast that we ran. Jesus Christ, how long did that thing last? Like 4 years, like 250 something episodes, and so it's going to be continuing that. It's going to release sometime between like May and July, depending on how much of a backlog I want to get in first. And yeah, that's that. Going to be hunting monsters and killing some shit.
So is that 5e again, or is that something else?
Nope, 5e. Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah.
The previous campaign was Pathfinder.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
we got stuck in the Pathfinder rut. Still playing it. I didn't want to get out of a system halfway through a campaign, and I really should have. But
well, but here's the interesting. You just, it's another thing, and we're continuing campaign. I mean, this is like the 4th campaign in this world now. Like there's
9th, actually.
9th. Yeah, there's like holidays and calendars, and like it's not just like, I'm rolling into another game. Like this is 10 years.
Well, yeah. Yeah, it's the world when we first started playing D&D like 15, 16 years ago now. That I was an idiot DM that had never played an RPG before, and I decided that would be a really cool idea to just homebrew everything. It was the worst mistake I ever made. But yeah. So it's a world that was created back then and continued with the podcast, and it's going to be continuing this new one. So.
And the cool thing for me is this will be the 3rd campaign in this world that I've gotten to play with you now.
Yep. 3rd? Yeah, it is the 3rd. Yeah.
Across 3 different podcasts.
Yeah. And 3 different systems.
Exactly. Yeah. That's pretty cool. All right, Kurt, what do you got coming up for this year?
I'm trying. We do so much board gaming stuff that I want to try to get some more RPG stuff done during the podcast and stuff like that. So I'm going to try to have at least once a month doing a fantasy improv, which we did on a regular basis and then kind of dropped off. Either that or I want to play something new. So I'm going to try to find some of my friends that I've made through this podcast and just say, hey, what's a RPG that you like? Let's play a one shot of it, because I'd like to see if I like it or not. And then also just running some one shot campaigns myself too, maybe doing some 5e. I know some role-playing games I got that are coming from Kickstarter that are going to be reaching me soon. So I'm going to actually try to DM those myself just to see how those will kind of shake out. Yeah, I'm just kind of trying to do a little bit more. You know, it's like, it's one of those things I say every year, but this year, damn it, I'm going to make it happen.
So a little bit of a change of the face in the MFG cast then.
Yeah, exactly.
Expansion.
Not to talk so much about board gaming, because I love RPGs myself, but I still haven't played enough. It's very infantile in my playing stages, so I'd like to play more just to see where it all kind of goes. So,
well, you've been playing Randy now for what, like 2-3 years now?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, it's like Fear itself is so easy to play, you know, and with Neil being the GM or DM or whatever you want to call it, like it goes pretty smooth, and all the characters seem to mix really well. And I'm basically just playing a kind of a dorkier version of myself, which is not saying much. So it's pretty easy to do.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. What about you, Sean? What do we got from Thing 12 coming up?
Gosh, coming for Thing 12. A lot of things, actually. When do we not, right? The first thing we've got coming up is Dinos Not Assembled. That's going to be in the spring. That's our family weight game where you're building dinosaurs, collecting bones to build the dinosaurs. There's going to be meeples, and the art's super, super cute. So that's the first one. We've also got another game coming up around the summertime. That's probably going to be... gosh, let's see. I think this is the one. So it's probably going to be the combat game. There's a card-based combat game that we're working on, where basically it's a 2-player, and one player has a certain weapon proficiency, like battle axes, and then the other player has a different weapon proficiency, like maybe dual swords, and so you're fighting against each other in this really interesting time mechanic system. So a certain attack may take a certain amount of time to go off, and you're seeing these things kind of play out. So that's another one we're working on. Just a really, really unique art style to this too, something that I haven't really seen done in a board game space. So that's kind of cool. Then there's a solo game that we're wanting to put out. That's still kind of in the discussion era, but there's a lot of work that's being done on it, and I've been playtesting it with the designer, and it's a really, really cool game that uses a system that people will be familiar with, but kind of turns it upside down and presents it in a very unique way. I'm also working on a worker placement game, probably for maybe 2020. I got the second playtest done just on the beginning of the year, and we made a couple tweaks to the rules, and it kind of blew everything open, and I was just super excited about how it played. Oh my god, this was amazing! It was so much fun. And again, it's a game that does something different that I haven't ever seen a worker placement game do. So that's kind of cool. But we have zero art or zero plans exactly when to put it out. We're going to go to a lot of different conventions. We're already planning, I think, at least 3-4 more different conventions that we haven't gone to before. We're going to have a table at Dice Tower West, so that's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, super cool. We're going to be at some of the cons down in Arizona, so hopefully I can get down there to one of those, since Sean will have a table space down there.
Right.
Yeah,
and you guys are sponsoring MaricopaCon this year. There's a pledge level for you guys to get all of the Thing 12 games.
Exactly.
The code Legends 10 does not apply, though. It's only online.
Yeah, we're basically just trying to get more games out and raise our awareness, take that next step as a company, and kind of raise the bar for us a little bit. So yeah.
Cool. And podcasting wise, you're still
Oh yeah, still doing the Board Game Alliance podcast. We went to PAX West and did a whole crap ton of interviews for that. During that, I think we're going to do a couple of things at the upcoming OrcaCon up here in Washington. It's one of my favorite cons to go to because it's primarily just use it as a play con. We're just going to hang out and play games for crazy hours, but there'll be a couple of podcast things we'll be doing there as well. So
cool. That's awesome. We're continuing to truck along here. You can see, for those who listen regularly, we've kind of tailed off on the interview roundtable side of things. As we're all busy with stuff, we cranked out just a shit ton of episodes in a short period of time, regular episode wise. Look at some other shows that have been around for a lot longer that are just ahead of where we are in regular episodes. So we've way backpedaled out on that, with the introduction of doing, sound effects and stuff in the actual play podcast. This eats up so much time that it's diverted from other things. We still have some of that stuff in the works. Sean will be on, at least 2 or 3 more times next year or this year, I guess. For various Kickstarters and such. And, we certainly leave that avenue open for people to contact us and jump in and, talk about games. We may try to do more of this kind of stuff, a little more round table-y, kind of like just BSing about games and whatever, just sort of like fill things out. But it becomes a time issue, and unlike the board games where like, oh, I got to get this new thing, for the podcast, like, oh, I want to do this and that, and we're going to start doing this, and we want to add this on the show, and at one point we're talking about doing the video game review style of like, Rado or Watch It Played. I'm like, wow, there's guys that are doing this so much better than we could even begin to do it, and then having to learn how to edit video and stuff. So we throw a lot of stuff out, and roughly a quarter of that stuff sticks when it comes down to just like sheer trying to do stuff. But I have a couple of things planned for the Dungeon Masters Guild, products for that, and I have a couple of little things that we're working on. So we do have some other stuff that's coming out. The Patreon's finally up. There's nothing posted. If you want to throw a couple of bucks, the dollar thing, you get the thank you and all that kind of stuff. I have to spend some time and go through and actually start to post things so people would give a shit to go and actually throw some money at it. But it's technically there, so that's kind of half off the list. And we picked up our sponsor last year. Thing 12 Games is awesome sponsor in the show. They join Birds of a Feather Coffee Company, who also sponsored the show. You can get the Legendary Brew, which is
really good too. I like it.
You ordered it finally?
Well, I got the Legendary Brew quite a while ago, and
did you?
I also picked up the Blackest Night or whatever that was.
Night Owl.
Yeah, the Night Owl. Like I got that one as well, so I need to get some more.
Yeah, the Night Owl was good too. Like that was my brew before, and I kind of conned Neil into making coffee for this show. I'm like, this is a really dumb idea, like because I can't help you with anything and whatever. And he's like, yeah, no, I'll do it. I'm like, sweet, sucker. But yeah, I mean, it's really good. Like it's one of those things. Oh, you got to say nice things about the sponsors. Like I wouldn't buy the coffee if it wasn't any good. Like, Sean wouldn't be hanging out if, the guys at Thing 12s were like not good people and like didn't do quality stuff. Like it's what it is, like you surround yourself with good people and, you try to do cool stuff moving forward and kind of like bring everybody along. And, for us, it's a lot of fun. Like this is the cool part about, being able to do a podcast. Like we just get to hang out and like bullshit. Like it's the best,
Personally, for me, the biggest thing that just came out of this entire conversation is putting a discussion to rest that me and Beta have been having for months now. We finally know that it is Thing 12 Games and not Thing 1-2 games.
See, I knew it was Jesse.
This is
you're welcome, Jesse, for putting that to rest for you.
That's all that counts now.
The first question on the podcast was that Kurt was like, "Hey, I've got a question."
That's hilarious.
That's
I'm here for the hard-hitting details.
You ask Kurt to come on as a guest, and he immediately just takes over the show. It's like, wait, I got to ask some questions.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I actually had something prepared at work where I was going to, before you even started, I was going to introduce everybody and pretend like I was the host and everything. And then I got too tired and I didn't do it.
Yeah. That would have been hilarious.
I just like ruining all of John's ad reads with
Nice.
Stupid nonsense.
So. Well, you know what? I cut that one after the Cypher game and I've been using it.
Yep.
Because it's sour. So a little inside baseball. I asked Sean, I'm like, if you have ad copy you want to give me or whatever, like you kind of like smooth stuff, cut like a little commercial. I was like, no, just you do you just like say whatever comes to mind. You just do your thing. I'm like, fuck. We record a lot of shows. Like, come throw me a bone here. So you get what you get when you're getting, sponsor reads here.
And when you get me and Beta and Neil you get awesomeness.
Well, yeah. All right, I guess. Cool. Well, I thank you guys for all coming on. It was like kind of like super short notice, and I just wanted to get something out for the new year, and just get a chance to hang out and just talk about games, because we do so much RPG stuff. I mean, we do the interviews and stuff with Kickstarters, and we haven't been doing as much of that, and I've just been playing more and more board games, and just to to get you guys, because you guys do so much board gaming as well, just to come on and chew the fat over it and kind of see where things lay. It was obviously a lot of fun for me.
I appreciate you having me on. That was really cool. And I had to deal with Kurt, but some crosses you got to bear, I guess.
I know. Yep. Sometimes you have to do the dirty work.
I was upset that you did not let me talk about my in-depth strategies about Pop-O-Matic Trouble, but I'll let it slide for next time.
All right. Well, we'll table that. I'll make a note.
Yeah, I think one of our other things we should do for 2019 is start our new podcast, 3 bald guys and a guy with a hat. Four bald guys.
Technically 2 shaved guys.
Yeah, whatever. You're bald. Quit with the shave crap. I shave my hair too because I'm bald as fuck.
Well, if we get John Beta, then we'll have 5 bald guys.
There you go.
Nice. We should have a bald guy round table. Oh my god, no one would watch that. It would be the best.
Talk about hair care products.
The one time my aunt, who worked for a salon, and when it went out of business, she's like, "I have a bunch of Rogaine. Would you like some?" No, I would not like some. You bastard.
Well, it might help you. It's cold there. You get 4 days above freezing during the year, or what?
Yeah. No kidding, right? Ugh. Family's the worst.
And on that note,
and you could quote me.
Pull that out and make a notes for the show notes. Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming on. Thanks everybody for checking it out. We had a bunch of people in the chat today, so that was cool too. We don't always get that, so we appreciate it when you're hanging out and making comments. Again, check out the sponsors, Thing 12 Games and Birds of a Feather Coffee. There's links in the show notes. If you use the code LEGENDS10, you're going to get 10% off your order. The Birds Coffee, if you order the Legendary Brew, is literally roasted to order. If you put an order in on the site, it's going to get roasted within a day or two and shipped out to your house. You can't get it any fresher than that unless you're growing your own beans. It's really good. The Legendary Brew is a medium roast. There's a little bit more caffeine than the Night Owl, so you got to kind of weigh. I go heavy caffeine every time. So the Night Owl blend, well, it's good. Just it doesn't have the caffeine doesn't really help. It's just I'm trying to psych myself out. It's whatever.
Yeah, you definitely don't need it.
Thing 12 Games is awesome. It's a small game company. They do smaller, lighter fare currently. You've got the Dice of series, which is a lot of fun. Dice of Pirates is the newer one of the two. I prefer that one a little bit more. There's a little bit more strategy involved. There's a little bit more. It's a take. They're both kind of take that games, but it has a little bit extra to it, which Curtis pimping. He's showing on the video.
That's right. Yep. Awesome components. Love it.
Yeah, they're definitely the quality of the components and stuff in the Thing 12 Games is amazing. The sleeves for the click boom stuff. You got all your little tokens, the meeples with the silk screening for Seals of Cthulhu coming up, the card backings. I mean, it's just quality stuff. It's inexpensive. It's not your heavy Euro game right now, but if you have a little something, you're waiting for your D&D group to show up, you bust out Dice of Pirates or Seals of Cthulhu when it eventually ships, and you get a quick game in, and it's a lot of fun, and it's you're supporting small local business, you're supporting people within our gaming community, and you're supporting good people. That's what it's about. You don't want to throw your money at people who are assholes. So I got the sponsors.
And you're supporting Sean's hat collection.
Yes.
Yeah. And he needs the hats because he's bald. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll catch you next time.
Peace.